Coming up on 5 Minute News. Justice Department to halt Texas abortion law for second time. Government report says UK's early COVID response worst public health failure ever. And China plans to build more coal-fired power plants in blow to COP26 ambitions. It's Wednesday, October 13. I'm Anthony Davis. The Biden administration is again urging the courts to step in and suspend a new Texas law that has banned most abortions since early September, as clinics hundreds of miles away remain busy with Texas patients making long journeys to get care. The latest attempt on Monday came 3 days after the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, after a brief 48-hour window last week in which Texas abortion providers had rushed to bring in patients again. The days ahead could now be key in determining the immediate future of the law, known as Senate Bill 8. The law bans abortions in Texas, which is usually at 6 weeks, and before some women even know they are pregnant. If Texas's scheme is permissible, no constitutional right is safe from state-sanctioned sabotage of this kind, the Justice Department told the appeals court. In wording that seemed to be a message to the Supreme Court, the Justice Department raised the spectre that if allowed to stand, the legal structure created in enacting the law could be used to circumvent even the Supreme Court's rulings in 2008 and 2010 on gun rights and campaign financing. It's not clear whether the Fifth Circuit Court will decide to extend what is currently a temporary order allowing the Texas law to stand. The court gave the Texas Attorney General's office until Thursday to respond to the Justice Department's latest arguments. Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion provider in Texas, relayed to the court in a separate filing on Monday numerous stories of Texas women impacted by the law, including one patient who they said was only 12 years old. The UK's failure to do more to stop COVID spreading early in the pandemic was one of the country's worst public health failures, a report by British MPs says. The government approach, backed by its scientists, was to try to manage the situation and in effect achieve herd immunity by infection, it said. This led to a delay in introducing the first lockdown, costing thousands of lives, the MPs found. But their report highlighted successes too, including the vaccination rollout. It described the approach to vaccination, from the research and development through the rollout of the jabs, as one of the most effective initiatives in UK history. But campaigners criticised the report for failing to focus on those who had died, saying reference to practical issues, including problems with laptops, was laughable. The 150-page document named Coronavirus Lessons Learned to Date is from the Health and Social Care Committee and the Science and Technology Committee and MPs from all parties. It predominantly focused on the response to the pandemic in England. The committees did not look at steps taken individually by Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. The MPs called the pandemic, which has claimed more than 150,000 lives in the UK and nearly 5 million worldwide so far, the biggest peacetime challenge for a century. Some early failings, the report suggested, resulted from apparent groupthink among scientists and ministers. It meant the UK was not as open to different approaches on earlier lockdowns, border controls, and test and trace as it should have been. China plans to build more coal-fired power plants and has hinted that it will rethink its timetable to slash emissions, in a significant blow to the ambitions for securing a global agreement on phasing out coal at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow. In a statement after a meeting of Beijing's National Energy Commission, the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang stressed the importance of regular energy supply after swathes of the country were plunged into darkness by rolling blackouts that hit factories and homes. While China has published plans to reach peak carbon emissions by 2030, the statement hinted that the energy crisis had led the Communist Party to rethink the timing of this ambition, with a new phased timetable and roadmap for peaking carbon emissions. China has previously set out plans to be carbon neutral by 2060, with emissions peaking by 2030, a goal analysts say would involve shutting 600 coal-fired power plants. President Xi Jinping has also pledged to stop building coal plants abroad. Beijing's ambitions for carbon dioxide output are seen as critical in the push to achieve global net zero carbon emissions by 2050 and fulfill the 2015 Paris Agreement to limit average temperature rises to 1.5 centigrade. But Li said Beijing wanted to gather new evidence on whether its peak emissions would be reached. Beijing's renewed embrace of coal, apparently at odds with Xi's state climate ambitions, are likely to cause alarm in the run-up to COP26. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.